You know I only take my 5 minutes, right? I've studied not only Decatur for the past year and mapped blight in different areas, but Urban Roots Properties was born out of seeing the conditions that Decatur is in and the blatant disregard by a lot of entities here for the blight. So I have a little thing prepared here. And it's simply, people are tired. Not just physically tired, not just mentally tired, not emotionally tired. They're tired of watching the same neighborhoods continue slipping while everybody acts surprised after the damage is already done. And what's happening around Wabash is not just about one apartment complex. That's the part that people keep missing. Wabash becomes visible because that's what happened. The conditions became visible. The frustration, it became visible. The pressure became visible. The voices of the residents, well, they finally became visible. But the deterioration like this, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, year after year, complaint after complaint. Deferred maintenance, ignored problems, lowered standards, and eventually people begin adapting to those conditions they should have never been expected to adapt to in the first place. And that's the real danger. The normalization of instability. Because once people normalize deterioration, neighborhoods begin disconnecting from themselves. Neighbors stop speaking. Ownership pride disappears. People stop believing improvement is actually possible. Kids grow up thinking broken environments are just normal environments. And then everybody asks, how did we get here? We got here because accountability became reactive instead of intentional. We got here because too many people learned how to collect from neighborhoods without investing back into them. We got here because vulnerable residents are too often treated like statistics instead of actual human beings. We got here because the people physically living inside these conditions usually care more about that than people operating them from a distance. Now, let me make something very clear. This isn't about attacking residents. This isn't about attacking struggling families. And this is not about outrage for simple attention. This is about operational accountability. Because housing affects everything. Mental health, stability, safety, community connection, children, schools, crime, hope, everything. You can't continue placing people inside deteriorating environments and then act shocked when instability spreads into the rest of the community. That's not how neighborhoods recover. Neighborhoods recover when intentional operations return, when standards return, when accountability returns, when people stop asking who's going to save this and start asking who's willing to actually work this. That's the difference. Urban Roots was not created to sit behind a desk talking about redevelopment. We are boots on the ground to physically enter the hard areas, to stabilize what others walk away from, to reconnect blocks, to restore pride, to create visible change people can actually feel. Not performance change, not ribbon-cutting change, real change. The kind where neighborhoods and neighbors begin talking again. The kind where children see improvement instead of abandonment. The kind where blocks stop feeling forgotten. That's why projects like our paint program matter. Because it's not just paint. It's reconnection. It's neighbors helping neighbors again. It's conversations returning. It's residents realizing The block itself still matters. And no, Urban Roots does not want one restored property surrounded by deterioration. We want the block to become the focal point. Because once people begin believing improvement is possible again, that momentum changes. That's how stabilization actually starts. And let me say very directly, the people living inside struggling conditions are not the enemy. Neglect is the enemy. Disconnected systems are the enemy. Deferred accountability is the enemy. Long-term deterioration becoming normal, that's the enemy. And if Decatur is serious about stabilization, then we need more than conversations. We need coordination. We need standards. We need operators that are willing to physically work these neighborhoods. We need accountability that exists before crisis hits headlines. Because if we keep accepting deterioration as normal, then instability becomes the future. Because if intentional redevelopment returns, if accountability returns, if neighborhoods reconnect, if standards rise again, then these communities can absolutely recover. Not someday, now. Urban Roots fully intends to be a part of the fight because we don't reach the standard, we set the standard.
Do you own rental properties?
I have acquired several, and I am working on a few multi-units right now.
Could you talk a little bit about your paint program?
The paint program is very simple. We do not walk into a community and focus on one house. If I'm going to go into that community, I'm going to analyze the block, not the house. The house should not be stabilized and be the focal point, because that's pointless. We've stabilized the unit. When we go in, we begin talking with neighbors. We begin building trust. We start conversations. And in doing that, hey, I see your house maybe needs some paint. Can I give you some color swatches? Do you want to choose the color of your house? Well, I can't afford it. I didn't ask you that. I asked you if you want to make it look as good as this one. Then we begin the conversations. One cleaned up porch will spread to somebody else saying, hey, that looks good. Let's do that. Then you get community talking again. You have one that's disabled, can't get out, can't paint physically their house. But you know what? You got some young ones down the street. They're more than capable. So we engage them. Have them coming over. Let's have a block cookout. Let's get everybody together and begin once again to make these houses look good. Neighbors start having conversations again. How long have we lived around and beside people we don't even know their names?
Do you have a grant to provide these services, or do you charge?
I do not charge. It is solely paid for by us. There is no grant.
What is the application process? How can a person...
You can go to my-urbanroots.com, click the contact form, fill out the information. It will require your address, name, phone number. Phone number is not required. Email. Put the address in the comments and tell me what you need. Hit send. That's it. Very simple.